This week on ANN, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency responds to flash floods in the Philippines.
Hope Channel is now available in the Cook Islands.
And in Jamaica, Adventist University president is appointed to National Science and Technology panel.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, as the rain continues to pour in the Philippines, many parts of the country have felt its impact as homes and villages are submerged in a flood brought on by the seemingly endless downpour.
ADRA Philippines was alerted by the Adventist Community Services director of the North Central Mindanao Conference that there were flash floods on the evening of July 13 in Cagayan de Oro City.
According to the city government of Cagayan de Oro, the flooding was caused by the rise in the water levels of rivers and their tributaries in the neighboring province of Bukidnon due to heavy rains.
Bukidnon is in an elevated area, and Cagayan de Oro serves as its primary natural basin. The floods were unexpected in Cagayan de Oro, where the weather was relatively fair throughout the day. Floodwaters swept away multiple houses, while hundreds of others were left in up to waist-deep water.
Roads were impassable, leaving vehicles stranded on the highway for hours. The initial report from local ACS partners showed there are more than 1,000 affected families in Barangays Cugman and Tablon, located near the river.
Based on the interviews conducted by the district pastor and his team, the immediate needs are cleaning materials, shelter repair materials, food, and clothing. They also add that most of the affected families have now returned to their homes to secure their belongings and prevent COVID-19 transmission, since the evacuation centers were crowded. Distribution of relief goods was held on Tuesday, July 27.
The Adventist Church in the Southern Asia Pacific region asks that you keep all the ACS volunteers in your prayers as they assess, validate, and organize for this relief distribution.
On July 21st, local residents of the island of Aitutaki in the Cook Islands were able to watch free-to-air Hope Channel on their television screens for the first time. Hope Channel has historically been available on the country's paid network Moana TV. However, only about 40% of Aitutaki had a subscription. Now, every household with a television can watch programs that share the love of Jesus. Programming is done by the team at Hope Channel New Zealand and sent across to the playout server on Rarotonga. From there, it is broadcast across Rarotonga and then sent via fiber cable to a separate playout server on Aitutaki. Cook Islands Mission President Pastor Eric Toliafoa says he is grateful to Hope Channel New Zealand for making the channel readily available. He says, "Please pray that this will continue to bless the people on Aitutaki and that many will be touched by God's grace as they watch Hope Channel."
Northern Caribbean University President Dr. Lincoln P. Edwards was appointed earlier this month to serve as a member of the National Commission on Science and Technology of Jamaica for a 12-month period. His appointment was made recently by Governor General Sir Patrick Allen. A dentist and pharmacologist by profession, Edwards has led a distinguished career in the sciences prior to his appointment as president of Northern Caribbean University in 2017. In congratulating Dr. Edwards on his appointment, President of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Jamaica, Everett Brown, said he hoped that Edwards' tenure on the commission will be a most successful one as he leverages his training and experience in the sciences to advance the national developmental agenda. The Northern Caribbean University president is a published researcher in the fields of diabetes, hypertension, and dentistry, and has obtained 2 National Institutes of Health grants in the United States. The National Commission on Science and Technology is chaired by the Prime Minister of Jamaica, with the deputy chair being the minister with responsibility for science and technology. The mission of the commission is to facilitate the formation of strategic partnerships towards advancing the implementation of the national science, technology, and innovation policy, and playing a fundamental role in the creation of wealth and improving the quality of life for Jamaicans.
Kruja, Albania is a charming medieval village just 18 miles north of the capital, Tirana. It is in this environment that each year a special event takes place to encourage Albanian youth as they complete 9 years of primary education and 3 years of secondary school. The youth dress in formal attire and parade in front of the people gathered in the piazza. Together with their parents and friends, they celebrate their success and graduation. On July 21st, ADRA Albania partnered with the municipality of Kruja in a new initiative to highlight their resiliency in the face of the devastating earthquake 2 years ago and the recent long months of isolation and social distancing caused by COVID-19. The ADRA team invited two talented young singers to organize a concert, which left a lasting impact on the young people and their parents. ADRA Albania representative and project manager of the Every Child Everywhere in School Advocacy Initiative, Christy Kendrell, shared a positive message with attendees. She encouraged them to pursue their dreams and to continue their education throughout their lives. Kendrell especially stressed the importance of girls' education, noting the need to challenge harmful customs and practices. Turning to parents and other citizens present, she emphasized, keeping youth at school builds a more sustainable and strong society. The night concluded with a speech by the Director of Education and Culture of Kruja. The hope is that the impact of this initiative will last for many, many years.
Social Security cards and driver's licenses are vital to Americans who want to drive, apply for a credit card, or even buy a house.
Dignity, an organization supported by the Florida-based Advent Health healthcare system, helps people obtain new and corrected identification documents in order to get their life back on track.
Tom Johnson from Advent Health shares how one individual improved his life after using this service.
How can I help you?
Rashawn Graham.
Thank you for calling Advent Health. How may I help you?
Is a happy, positive presence at the front desk. He loves his job.
Take it easy.
And it shows.
I like kind of being the first hello that people get to experience.
But getting to this point was not easy. He moved with his job from Philadelphia to Orlando several years back, but when that job ended, Rashawn made a troubling discovery.
I discovered that my Social Security card and my birth certificate actually had two different names on them. So one had my mother's last name and one had my father's last name.
So he could not get a Florida ID, and without a valid ID, he could not get a job.
I went without a job for probably about 2 years.
Rashawn and his new wife ended up with no place to live.
Homelessness is a thing you hear about, right? It's never so close to anybody that, you really think about it as something that could actually happen to you until it does. Suddenly, you are dealing with the realities of homelessness like that.
But then he found iDignity, which Advent Health supports, a group who helps people get their ID issues in order. He went to an iDignity event like this and
took one good look at my stuff and said, "Oh, this is what you need? Oh, okay, we got this." And I sat there and I'm like, "Wait, hold on a minute. What do you mean you got this?"
And good to their word, an email arrived.
It says, "Hey, your stuff's in." And I was like, "What? What do you mean my stuff's in?" It's like, "No, we got it done. Your stuff's in. You can come get it tomorrow."
This is the moment that happened.
They gave my life back to me. Everything you need to do in your life revolves around these documents. Right, there you go.
Thank you.
No problem.
Documents which eventually led him to the very company, Advent Health, which supports iDignity.
I wouldn't have this job or any job for that matter. I'd probably still be struggling. Hi, how can I help you?
A perfect example of why Advent Health stands with iDignity, helping them help people who really need it.
They're giving someone their dignity back, and they're giving them their purpose again.
There's a whole lot of thoughts I don't have to have anymore. There's a whole lot of fears that I don't have to have anymore. Now dreams can take those spaces.
In Orlando, Tom Johnson for Advent Health.
Coming up, ADRA vegetable gardens feed families in Madagascar during the COVID-19 pandemic.
But up next, we have an update on a father and son duo who are taking an amazing trek to raise money for those in need.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system, the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the seventh-day Sabbath. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
This week, we have an update of a father-son duo who is on an amazing adventure trying to raise money for the Adventist Development and Relief Agency.
On July 16, Hurley and Andreas Mayer, a father and son sea kayaking team located in the U.S. state of Maryland, embarked on a self-styled expedition they've named the Bay 200 Challenge.
The Bay 200 Challenge is a 12-day kayaking journey to raise money for hunger, one of the most pressing COVID-19 related issues affecting people today.
Around the time this airs, Hurley and Andreas will have kayaked 200-mile north to south traverse of the Chesapeake Bay in the U.S. East Coast, the largest bay in the United States.
The Bay 200 Challenge is supporting ADRA's COVID-19 hunger pandemic response campaign, which aims to raise $3 million by July 31.
ADRA International sent this report.
We're in the middle of the storm right now. It's just hitting us really hard. It came out of nowhere.
Like any challenge, you have to expect unpredictable things to happen. And over the last few days, we've had our share of those. In fact, yesterday, we ran into a pretty significant storm, a lightning storm. And, it came out of nowhere almost. We were kayaking and just pushing really hard to make it to the shore. And we barely made it. And when the winds came roaring through and the rain hit us, and for 15 minutes, it just felt like we were in the eye of a hurricane. During this adventure, we've been following the eastern shore of Maryland along the coast.
In the mornings, we get up at like 7 in the morning, and we try to leave at about 8:30, and we row on average about 16 to 17 miles per day. At the end of the day, I'm pretty tired, everything hurts, and I just want to get in my tent, have a nice dinner, and then go to sleep.
We have hit, finally today, the 100-mile mark, and so it's a major milestone for this adventure, and it's just really energizing to know that we've come this far. We've made it all the way to the central part of the Chesapeake Bay, to a town called Fisher's Creek. In spite of all the challenges, we're still driven by the initial purpose of this trip. We knew that it was going to be tough. We knew that we were going to face difficulties. But at the same time, just knowing that this is going to be helping people and families who are struggling with COVID, specifically with the issue of hunger, just keeps us driving and pushing forward. We're supporting the Adventist Development and Relief Agency's COVID hunger pandemic campaign. And it's a campaign to raise $3 million by the end of July. And this campaign has almost reached its goal, and we're so close that we just really want to invite you to support it.
Andreas and Hurley hope the Bay 200 Challenge inspires people around the world and here to find creative ways to do something for people in need.
I would tell any other kids my age, you can do whatever you want if it's for a good cause.
Over the next few days, the Bay 200 Challenge team will stop by several islands and towns along the Chesapeake Bay in southern Maryland on the way to their final destination at the 200-mile mark in Smith Island, Virginia.
We still have 100 miles to go, and what keeps me going is just thinking about the people that don't have food on their tables each day and that have food insecurities and don't know what they're going to eat the next day.
We want to invite you to come out and say hi and greet us, or just see us passing and wave. That energizes us. That really encourages us to keep going. Stay tuned. Look out the window if you're by the water, and I'm sure you're going to see us come by. Why not come all the way to the end when we're going to be finalizing this amazing adventure? Wherever you are around the world, if you're following this challenge, we thank you, and we're encouraged by your participation. We also want to invite you to contribute to this challenge, to support us. And you can do so by going to www.adra.org/Bay200 Challenge ADRA.org/give. And your donation will make a significant difference for so many families who right now are struggling with hunger. Mentally, we're just prepared to do this all the way to the end because God is guiding us, and it just adds another level of purpose for what we're doing.
If you would like more information on the Bay 200 Challenge, you can visit adra.org/Bay200Challenge/give.
In Madagascar, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, is training people to grow successful vegetable gardens, raise poultry, and make handcrafts to supplement lost income during the COVID-19 pandemic.
ADRA's COVID-19 Sustainable Livelihoods Recovery Project will assist 2,000 families in and around Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo, who have experienced significant disruption of their livelihoods due to the COVID-19 health crisis and lockdown measures.
The pandemic has pushed 1.38 million people into extreme poverty in Madagascar, according to the World Bank. In a country where 3 out of 4 people survive on less than $2 per day, nearly 2/3 of households reported a decline in income since the beginning of the pandemic.
Over the coming year, ADRA will help 1,900 households establish climate-smart home gardens where they can grow sweet potatoes, legumes, and vegetables to eat or sell. The families will receive seeds and basic agricultural tools and will be trained in successful growing methods, as well as ways to market their produce and turn it into higher value products.
In addition, 100 female-headed households will learn how to supplement their income by raising chickens or making handcrafts for sale. Each poultry-raising family will receive 1 rooster and 4 hens to begin their flock, while the other families will receive raw materials and tools needed for handcrafting. All of the participants will be educated on how to make these activities economically viable.
The year-long Sustainable Livelihoods Project is an expansion of a smaller emergency response conducted by ADRA in Madagascar. The COVID-19 Food Security Project, funded by ADRA International and implemented by ADRA in Madagascar with the partnership of Adventist Women's Ministries. The aim is to reinforce food security and immunity against the coronavirus among 900 households from urban and peri-urban areas of Antananarivo.
In addition to helping people overcome the economic hardships of the pandemic, ADRA in Madagascar is educating the public on COVID-19 prevention and vaccination.
The challenge is heightened for those in poverty, many of whom work as street vendors or in other informal businesses and run the risk of exposing themselves to COVID-19 while searching for economic opportunities. If they do become ill, they cannot afford healthcare or medication.
To address these problems, ADRA will use trained volunteers, mass media, and Adventist church communication channels to educate the project beneficiaries and the general public about hygiene practices to prevent COVID-19. ADRA will also share information about the benefits of COVID-19 vaccines and how to receive them.
Coming up, Ashley Chisholm is here to share what happened this week in Adventist history.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares the story of a young woman who embraced the Adventist Church's new strategic plan, I Will Go.
Hi, VL. How are you? Are you okay? Dear VL, I can't even remember how long we've been staying at home now because of this virus. For now, it's just nice to hear your voice and see your face. Nothing beats playing outside in the dirt though. Which reminds me, are your hands clean? Yes! Mommy and Daddy says not a lot of kids get COVID-19, but it's always nice to be extra safe. We should wash our hands before picking our nose. Washing our hands protects us, but it also keeps us from spreading the virus in case we touch something dirty. Let's always be clean and safe, okay? Love, Joey.
Welcome back.
Tiffany is an Adventist church planter who fell in love with the Adventist church's strategic focus, I Will Go.
Recently, she sat down with Special Assistant to the President of Strategic Planning and Special Projects, Mike Ryan, to share her story.
Adventist Mission has more.
I am so excited. I love this theme. I will go.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church has a plan, and you're part of it. This plan is called I Will Go, and it includes all of us. I Will Go offers something for the whole church. Local churches, missions, conferences, unions, divisions, the General Conference, and institutions. It's a tool to help the church be more focused and effective in answering God's call for us to witness to unreached people around the world. Research data was used to identify objectives for the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church to accomplish its mission. The I Will Go objectives focus on 3 important areas: mission, spiritual growth, and leadership. Each one has key performance indicators, or KPIs, which help us know if we're meeting the objectives. You can go directly to the I Will Go website and find all of the objectives and key performance indicators. These were created to give us tangible goals and action plans for sharing the gospel with the world, so that we can mobilize our resources to more effectively reach the unreached. So you might be wondering, how can I get involved? Tiffany, a church planter in the United States, talked with Mike Ryan, a church leader involved in setting up the I Will Go plan, to get his input.
The question is, how can people become involved? How can they become involved?
Right. I think that's a huge part where it's just like, wow, this is great for the world church. How does this, for me as a church member, how can I get involved?
Yeah, and it's a great question. And I'll tell you right now that the right answer to that question will make the difference in this church. It really does. To take that plan and look at those KPIs, God gives us all different gifts. You have a certain gifts. I have gifts. Every member has different gifts. And if you take that plan and you look through those KPIs, those key performance indicators, and you just fall on your knees and say, Lord, where do you want me to fit in here?
Mm-hmm.
This is where the church has said we need to go. But obviously, just saying that's where I want to go with no plan to get there, it's individuals who have that plan to get there. Yeah. And so I think that it is a determination in the mind. I'm going to do something. Yes. Maybe for the first time in my life, but I'm going to do something. And if a person makes that commitment and finds a little niche, you will find that you will not only be involved in one KPI, soon you're going to be involved in many of them.
This is more than a strategic plan. It's a mission-focused tool based on real data and the Great Commission. Its value and impact will be determined as the church works together as a worldwide team of brothers and sisters under the power of the Holy Spirit.
I think it's awesome that our church is not just saying, hey, we just hope the Lord will come and, whatever happens, happens. And I believe that the Lord works through us. He works through strategies. He's a part of these meetings. He's leading in our minds and what can we do? Where are the areas that we're weak? Where are the areas where we can grow? And so I am so excited. I love this theme. I will go. I think it's perfect for this the next 5 years. And these 3 areas that you mentioned, mission, spiritual growth, and church leadership, I think are really great areas for us to focus on.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting adventistmission.org and click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to Ashley Chisholm for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we hear of the life and ministry of Elmer E. Andros.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On July 25, 1901, Elmer E. Andros set sail from England to attend a meeting of the Central European Conference. Andros was born in 1868. After tent efforts conducted by H.W. Decker, Andros became a Seventh-day Adventist in 1885. By 1888, he was assisting Decker in those tent efforts. In 1889, Elmer married Sophie Miller, and they lived in California, where they had 2 sons, Ellsworth and Cillian. The family traveled to England in 1899, where Elmer served as an evangelist, then as president of the North England Conference, and then as British Union Conference president. They returned to the States in 1908 due to Sophie's ill health, and Elmer spent the next decade as president of 2 Union Conferences and 1 conference. Sadly, Sophie died in 1917. In 1918, Andros was elected Vice President of the General Conference for North America, equivalent today to North American Division President. He remarried in 1920 to Matilda Erickson, a long-term worker in the General Conference's Missionary Volunteer Department. In 1922, the Androses went to Panama to help organize and then run the Inter-America Division. They spent 14 years there. In 1936, Elmer Andros was elected as a field secretary for the General Conference, based out of Maryland. In 1941, he retired, but returned to service as president of the Caribbean Union for more than a year before he and Matilda retired a second time, returning home to Maryland. He died in 1950 and Matilda in 1957. This brief overview of his career proves true what he wrote in 1901 about serving abroad. We have never been sorry that we came to this field, but rather 1,000 times thankful. How glad I should be to see hundreds of those now laboring in the home field get out into the regions beyond, with a message that God has committed to us, not for Americans, but for every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. The church's home fields have now grown to encompass far more than just the United States. But Andros's words still ring true for all Adventists today, 120 years after Andros sailed as part of his duties during This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Did you know the Adventist Church is a YouTube channel where you can watch ANN Video, ANN In-Depth, and plenty other amazing videos on prophecy, health, and Bible study?
Just go to YouTube and search for the Adventist Church. Make sure you click the subscribe button to make sure you're caught up each week.
And remember, leave a comment or a prayer request. We have people who are praying for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verses 38 and 39.
The passage says, "Do not forget the covenant I have made with you, and do not worship other gods. Rather, worship the Lord your God. It is he who will deliver you from the hand of all your enemies."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit Adventist.news for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.